Memphis, Nashville. Two great American places that easily qualify for the title of Music City, USA. I'm Ross Rice, a producer and musician who's worked extensively in both, and I've come to the conclusion that when it comes to recording music, these Tennessee cities are worlds apart. So I asked some pros in both towns to share their observations about this. What makes these towns special? What makes them so different?
The Nashville style of recording, in my opinion, harkens back to early years of recording, maybe what you would have seen in the 50s in New York, same in LA. It was very organized and everybody very union driven.
You know, when those guys like Chet Atkins had those rooms locked out and they had their kind of fine Neumann microphones set up and everything was kind of dialed in, and they knew how to do the Anita Kerr background singers.
It became a very efficient workforce. We record usually with the full band at the same time on a lot of country records, and that can be a 5-piece, 7-piece, whatever. They run in 3-hour session increments typically. So you'll have a 10 to 1, and then a lunch break from 1 to 2, and then a 2 to 5, and then a dinner break, and then a 6 to 9.
I would say that the thing that makes Nashville recording unique and the way that people do things around here is the speed at which they work. I mean, when you first get involved in doing sessions here, it's mind-numbing how fast everybody wants to work, and you really have to get your game to the point where you can keep up your gear and your ideas. You don't have time to like experiment and wait around, and people will get so frustrated if you don't move super fast.
I think there's a very fearless way of recording in Memphis, and you know, here we are sitting in Sam Phillips' recording studio. To me, Sam's, you know, he's called the guy who invented rock and roll, and a lot of that was his fearlessness, not of only how to record, but who to record.
I know in Memphis, it's really all about the feel. It's all about making it feel good. And that comes from the musicians that we have in this area. A lot of them grew up in the church or grew up feeling the music, and there's not a lot of business as far as music goes in town. We're not an industry town, we're a talent town.
We're also kind of known here, I think, for leaving mistakes if they're cool, or not sacrificing a great take because of a little mistake. It's even more probably about that. You know, there's the famous Sam Phillips story about the phone ringing on I think it was a Junior Parker song. But, you know, when asked about it, he was like, you think that I'm gonna that take was the one. You think I'm gonna trash that whole take because a phone was ringing?
When people say, okay, what time are we getting together? And I'll say, it's a soft 10 o'clock. You know, in Memphis, we kind of sort of get in around 10:20 and sort of, you know, by maybe 11 a.m., we're starting to roll.
Right now, if this was like a Monday in Nashville, it could be that most of the recordings being done at this moment across this fair city are not unlike mine, which are probably more Memphis-y than Nashville-y. There are probably people in East Nashville that are at a small or medium-sized studio that are getting together and doing tracks. And there might be about 1 out of 3 sessions happening right now in Nashville. Might be on Music Row or at Blackbird, or one of the big high production studios. And that might be a little more formalized. They're probably union guys. They're probably starting at 10 and ending at 1, having a very specific lunch break, and you know, there's probably that going on, and that sort of wedge of our pie is probably making a hell of a lot more money than my wedge of the pie is.
This style of recording works really well for the style of music that we do so much of here. It is a little bit like a machine at times. It's very lockstep. It works great, and if you think about it, it really works to benefit the musicians, because having definite booked times, if you're booked here from 10 to 1, you know at 1 you're going to be done. You can go grab a bite to eat, and at 2 o'clock you can be in another studio ready to play another session. So that's really been a huge boon for the musicians, and that was one of the things that started very early on in Nashville's history.
They have an industry there that we don't have here. And it's always been that way. Memphis has always kind of been the redheaded stepchild, I say. You know, we've always done things very independently here. And I find that to be a beautiful thing and a very freeing thing. And it's fun to watch people who come from out of town, even people who've recorded all their lives in different places, and if it's their first time to record the way we record here, it's fun to watch the look on their faces. They can't believe it a lot of times.
Man, back in those days, you know, it was 6-7 days a week, like 13 hours a day, sometimes working on Sundays and stuff, and it's like, I don't think it's normal and natural to be in the studio that much, and I got so fried back in those days. The reason people do that here is because they can, because the musicians are that good, and the budgets are that low, where they need to get so much out of you in one day. If somebody's gonna pay you full scale to come in for a day, you're gonna work really hard for it.
Well, in Nashville, the take that would get the nod is the one that the winner is the guy who first crosses the finish line of executing the chart perfectly. In Memphis, my hunch would be the winner would be the drummer, bass player, guitar player, the core section that crosses the finish line with the best groove. That's the winner. And it might have taken longer to get it. They might have got it on the first take, and they're hip enough to know that we should use that first take, even if it has a few mistakes. The Nashville thing is probably a little tidier than that, you know, and more willing to sort of reward the guy who efficiently gives you chart after chart with great accuracy.
You know, because it's sort of a more laid-back scene, people aren't maybe as professional as they would be at a place like Nashville. So sometimes you have to listen to some guy, you know, bitch about what he's going through with his girlfriend to get him in a headspace to be able to create music. I think being able to have the time to do that makes the song that much groovier, that has that much more feeling, because somebody is, you know, they're feeling it. They're in the moment. They're not thinking about the next session.
All my buddies that were making rock records back in the 70s said they would just spend a whole day working on one song and playing it over and over, and I wish we could do that, man, because that's really what I would like to be doing personally, but rarely get that chance here.
I just hire guys that are willing to show up at 10 and then work till about dinner time, which sounds like a long day, but it's a day that's a little less formalized. We take a leisurely lunch break. There's plenty of time to kick back on the couch and read books and joke between takes. And it's just more sort of a day's journey that we all take together. And we do it for the artist. We're trying to get the artist something cool. We try to build a rapport with the artist. I don't want my musicians just to be these sort of faceless guys that come in and don't really get to know the artist. I like them to kind of work together and get to know each other.
Different production styles need to be used for different styles of music. I think it's kind of ludicrous to try to fit something where you're really inventing. When you're inventing a feel, you're inventing everything from scratch. To expect to do that in a 3-hour session seems a little bit ill-advised.
I got to do a handful of sessions in Nashville with amazing session players, and everybody was just on point. But, you know, being a Memphis guy, I felt like it was kind of a paint by numbers sort of thing. And in Memphis, I never feel that way. Sometimes we don't get it, but if we're going for it, there's going to be some kind of passion involved.
In this day and age, it could be that the recording methods are about the same in both towns. Everything's become really standardized. The gear has become so available to everybody. The knowledge has become available to everybody. Pro Tools available by, you know, subscription now. You know, so everything is kind of available simultaneously. There might be less difference now.
Brad makes a good point. Lower recording budgets and computer technology have changed recording styles everywhere. But at the core, I believe that Memphis and Nashville have retained their distinctive flavors, and this keeps me working the stretch of I-40 in the state of Tennessee.